Hey, it's Penelope in London. It's the 12th of February 2026, and I wanted to just go through this last bit of Saturn for the next 24 hours in the sign of Pisces. So let me get my marker so you can see where I'm looking. Here you go. There you go. You've got my arrow. So you can see this chart is starting at 0 Aries, and we've got Saturn, which is at 2952. It's going to be moving into the sign of Aries for the next couple of years on the 13th and 14th of February for people in the U.S.A. It will be around the 13th, and it will be the first hour of the 14th of February in the UK. And what I noticed, if I take this here, no, I don't want to do that. If I take the time forward, yes, I can do it. Okay, so this is days. So we got the 14th of February, 2026. Sorry, I got lost there for a minute. So what you can see is that we have Lilith, which is an asteroid, and that is going to be at 00 degrees. It's going to cross over. We go back. You can see there is Lilith on the 11th of February, which is asteroid Lilith. There are three Liliths in evolutionary astrology, which I'll explain at the end of this video. So you can see Lilith is here, 29 degrees Pisces on the 11th. That's 24 hours ago. And then today it's at 0 degrees right now, 22:20 p.m. in London. The moon has moved into the sign of Capricorn. And this interests me, this feminine structure here, because when they conjunct, I mean, they're almost conjunct now. They're going to be 0045, I believe, when Saturn and Neptune are exact. But clearly, they're both going to be 00 degrees within 24 hours. So if we look at asteroid Lilith, and I'll explain the other two at the end of this video. So what is asteroid Lilith? Asteroid Lilith is called 1181 Lilith. If you go to astro.com and you're looking to see where she is on your chart, and it's a real asteroid in the main belt, and it was discovered in 1927. So the symbolism of this Lilith there, with that Saturn and Neptune, the symbolism of her is basically to do with themes like visible independence, relationships, and creative or sexual rebellion. So, sexual rebellion doesn't mean that you're sexually rebellious. It could be that you're pushing at something, as we can see with the files that have been released. We can see that going on at the moment. There is a rebellion of the abuse of what's been going on. And we've only just sort of touched the surface of this, I believe, at this time in humanity. And it feels to me, with what's going on with this Saturn and Neptune, that it looks like that there could be some hardships against us, in the sense that we don't know politically which way this will turn, whether it's, restricting us on media. If people keep talking about this, how are they going to handle the reality that people have become very, very aware, and all of these things are available for us to see, although a lot has been redacted. So that's just a thought, that these are entwined with Saturn, that she's entwined with Saturn and Neptune as this goes on. Then if we go to the 14th of February, and I go a few hours ahead, let's see here, I'm going to show you the exact conjunction. It's going to be the 14th of February. I'm going backwards here. This will be at 11, 1, 2, 3, 1:20. So you can see here that Saturn there is in the sign of Aries. And I'm pleased about that, because Saturn in Aries to me is going to be helpful for where I'm at in my life. And I think for many people, if we can understand it, then we can help ourselves. So if we look at what Aries means, if we look at the breakdown of what Aries means, its element is fire, its cardinal, its ruler is Mars, and it's the ram, the symbol, and it's also positive, masculine, it's yang energy. And the core meaning in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, symbolizes beginnings, initiative, and raw energy. So if we think it represents where we've got action, courage, and self assertion, and it's also with for people that have got strong Aries placements, well, often we can see they've got very pioneering spirits. And it depends where your Aries is. For me, mine is in my fifth house. Some people have it on their MC. We can have it anywhere in our chart, but for me, it's in my fifth. So we can all understand if we look at our charts what this is doing for us. So we can, with this signature as well, we can face our projects, start new projects, and face challenges head on because it's the ram, the head, yeah. And then the key themes for Aries is courageous, energetic, direct, independent, enthusiastic, and adventurous. And then the shadow side, if we look at the Jungian, not that Jung loved astrology as well. I think one of his reasons for falling out with Freud was part of the astrological and beliefs, and also the sexual connotations that Freud spoke about in his book, which was to do with the dream world and the interpretation of dreams. I think there was a falling out about different understandings around that sexuality and what Freud believed. I'm more on the side of Jung on this, but I can also understand with Freud's book, The Interpretation of Dreams, which I listened to for a few months. It was I think it was 27 hours on Audible. So that book, at the time, it would have been pioneering because written in 1900, 1901, 1900, people didn't talk about those things. So it was very imperative that somebody did bring it up. And he spoke about how people had very, bizarre dreams or strange dreams or his own dreams. And the dream world is just as important as our conscious waking world. It's another part of us. It's not separate. So also the challenges of the shadow are where we can be impulsive, impatient, aggressive, and self-centered and reactive. So that's what we're going to have to watch out for, to be impulsive, impatient, aggressive, self-centered, or reactive. We want to calm that down and find things that can help us to calm that down. So the expression of this overall is taking initiative, asserting ourselves, and learning to act with confidence while balancing our impulsivity. Because the thing is, if things happen, if we go back to COVID, like something happened and we reacted, some people were impulsive about their belief systems around that time. So that's one example of how we can be impulsive. And I'm sure we're all impulsive in one area or another. And we have to decide how we're going to handle ourselves with this Saturn in the sign of Aries, which I'll come to. So we've got the warrior, the trailblazer, it's energy, it's stepping into our own power, claiming our own identity and moving forward without waiting for permission. Like, where am I good enough? Like, you can ask yourself that question. What am I good at? What direction do I want to go? It's not waiting to ask at this time. I believe that it's knowing, and clearly we're all at different levels in our understanding of knowing where we are, but we need to sit with ourselves and figure that one out. And then also, if we look at Neptune now, which is going to be the conjunction, which is going to happen on the 20th of February exactly. If I just change that there, you'll see 20th of February, 2026. And what you see is that you've got 00, I'll go a few hours ahead because it's 0045, 44, 44, 45, yeah, 44, 0044, you can see them both there. And still, which is interesting, is that asteroid Lilith is still there. So there's something around there for me that is the feminine rising with, not just the feminine, but even with men who've got daughters, who love their daughters, who care for their daughters, people who've got children. People are feeling rageful at the moment about the events of these files. And I know that to be true. from what I'm seeing and from my own lived experience. So Neptune, let's go back to the planets. Neptune, it's an outer planet, it's generational, and Pisces is the ruler, even though it's in Aries, Pisces is the ruler of Neptune. And the symbolism is the sea god. It represents flow, dissolution, and the unseen. So we're getting to see the unseen as well as it moves into Aries. We're being more forceful, maybe about, what we're willing to see and what we haven't seen. And there can be some anger around that we're just beginning to see. So Neptune is about imagination, intuition, spirituality, dissolution of boundaries. It's our dream world, it's illusions, also empathy and connected to the collective unconscious, which was a lot of Carl Jung's work, not Neptune, but the collective unconscious. And Neptune's energy is subtle and fluid, and it can be blurring the lines with reality and fantasy. So the positive is where we can be compassionate, intuitive, artistic, spiritual, and idealistic. And the escapism, the shadow is escapism, deception, confusion, self deception, and addiction. And if we take the Saturn, well, we should be able to fundamentally with Saturn, which is structure, it's like, and like the teacher, we should be able to, haul in on our own addictions, whatever they are, whether it's too much mobile phone use, there's all types of addictions. And I think a lot of people are beginning to see that as well with scrolling. People have had enough of scrolling, seeing the same old thing. So we also have the life expression of this Neptune. It's connecting to something greater than ourselves, exploring our imagination and dreams, dissolving rigid boundaries, and to experience unity. And we may want that, but people may be stopping us from wanting to experience that unity, the powers that be, maybe. And the mystic, the dreamer, the visionary, where we also faith, it can be imagination, and it lessons often, the lessons are often involving discernment. So where are we going to be discerning as well? Where do we need to be discerning? So hopefully Saturn can help us with discernment, because Saturn wants structure and not to run away with itself. So this is where we get to build some dreams, some of our dreams that we've maybe thought about for years, that we've been thinking about. Can I, or can't I, or should I, shouldn't I? It may be a time when we go, no, I'm doing this thing. Now, Saturn here is a social, it's outer planet also, social, more social structure. And we know that the ruler is Capricorn, and the traditional ruler of it is Aquarius. It's a modern co-ruler. So the the Aquarius is the modern. And it's the symbolism of Saturn is like a taskmaster. It's like discipline, structure, responsibility. So where do I need to be responsible? I certainly feel like recently I've got in my inner world, what am I responsible for? Who am I responsible for? What do I want to be responsible for? So Saturn, we know, is structure, limitation, discipline, life lessons. It's boundaries, time, responsibility, where we mature. I've just had my second Saturn return, which has been really trying, but really humbling and really quite beautiful to experience it as well. I can't put it into words exactly, but it's an inner felt thing. Saturn shows us where we must work hard, face reality. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Work hard, face reality, and build lasting foundations. So at this time with Neptune there, this is more that we don't really know, because Neptune is like, well, there's possibilities, but can I do this? So we need to be gentle with ourselves and go with the flow at this time. We don't want to try and put a square peg in a round hole, I would say. And then we've got so we know the positively, it's disciplined, responsible, patient, organized, and wise, which is like the old crone in mythology, the wise one who shows up when we're ready to work on something. And then the shadow side, or the challenges, are restrictive, fear, rigid, overcritical, and cautious. And here we can learn responsibility, setting healthy boundaries with ourselves as well, embracing long term growth and achieving mastery. So it's the wise elder, the teacher. It's like tests, nothing, nobody's doing anything to us, but we may feel a bit tested. There may be limitations and challenges. If we remember, we go back to Saturn conjunct Pluto, which happened in 2020, and Jupiter was involved. When we look at that, we can see that we were severely tested at that time. And now Saturn is in Aries, so it's certainly a different field that it's in. It's not in the same place. And also, this is learning to navigate reality effectively, which is Neptune, is sort of, it doesn't know where it's going. It's like when you go to sleep at night, you don't know what you're going to dream if you dream. If you start a piece of artwork and you're doing abstract art, you may not know what the outcome of it is going to be. So we can see how these work together. So Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, they conjunct at the first degree. And it's also cardinal. It's a fire sign of beginnings, assertion, and self initiation. And Saturn's structure, discipline, and boundaries with Neptune's dissolution, imagination, and idealism, which is really important, are filtered through this Aries energy, which is bold, impulsive, and pioneering. So we can, if we're impulsive and we're saying, I'm going to, make a piece of art, or I'm going to start something, it could be a good thing. So we just want to harness our impulsivity and maybe have a conversation with ourselves or with others who understand our life experiences. But we don't need to listen to everybody. Sometimes something in our inner being, our soul, will say, knows which direction it wants to go. So this is personal initiation and responsibility. Saturn in Aries is I must assert my self-responsibility, and also, discipline, self-discipline, leadership, and take action. And Neptune is I dream of this new beginning, this vision, this driven action, and strongly there can be a lot of idealism here and initiating projects, the tension between illusion and structure. So Saturn wants the boundaries, Neptune dissolves them. So in Aries, we may feel this impulsive idealism that meets reality. And then also the expression is a pioneer with vision. So it's driven to create something entirely new, which we're doing because, the information that's come out over the last couple of weeks, which a lot of redacted stuff, we're beginning to see that this is not okay, the way things have been. And this doesn't just happen I don't hate the word elites, but these people that have made loads of money and they have this illusionary power at the top. Some people would say it's not illusionary, but overall, in the context of being a soul, every human being's life is of great value and nobody's better than anybody else, so to speak. So we've got to learn patience and discipline with this, and then also we may have a spiritual mix or a spiritual mixed with creative ambition, and we may have fear of failure as well, which we can work on. I have found in my life that most things I've worried about or been fearful about have never happened, but there are other things that have. And the things that there are things that have happened to me that I didn't worry about that happened. So life is just an ongoing flowing process. So we need to plan somewhat our dreams that we want. We don't want to desire in the sense of fantasy. We don't want to live in fantasy land. And we can also possibly manifest some dreams into reality at this time, which is really wonderful. So the visionary warrior, that's a good one for the Saturn Neptune. And you can also start something completely new. And Saturn, the lessons are to make sure it lasts, but, build something instead of just burning it out. Now, I wanted to come back to I have a note here. I want to come back to the other two Liliths. and just tell you that there's Black Moon Lilith and there's True Lilith. So we have here, it's not on the chart, so I won't do that today. So the next thing is that Mercury is going to go retrograde, which is after this conjunction here, not after, like weeks after. So I'm just going to go days ahead. So if you can see, I'm going days ahead. That's the 20th. At that point, Neptune, they've conjuncted Saturn. Here's Mercury in Pisces. So we're going to be going over something that's quite deep, I think. So it stations and then 26, and I'm just going to move it forward and I'll tell you the date that it goes back to retrograde. So then it is 8 degrees and it stations again and then it'll go direct. So it's going to be there for quite some time because it's already in. This is going to be like quite a number of weeks. If we take that it's already in there and it's the 11th, the 12th of February, and then it's going to go retrograde back to 8 degrees, then if we go forward again, we're going to see when it leaves Pisces. There's a lot of Piscean work to do there. And then it will, which will be very fascinating, on the 15th of February, it will be conjunct with Neptune almost 2 degrees. The moon will be in Aries. So we got a lot ahead of us. And then also on the 17th, we have the 17th of February, I didn't mention, we have the eclipses, which is another video. And then on the 17th also, we have the year of the fire horse. And I feel quite grateful because I was born in the year of the fire horse, which happened 59 years ago, which sounds like a lifetime ago, and it certainly has been. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you enjoyed the video. One last thing, we've got that Uranus will be moving into Gemini, which is great. I'm really pleased about that, but it will hit my sun at 0 degrees. There you go. So we've gone in for some huge, big, fantastic changes here. So hold your horses. The year of the fire horse. Catch you later.